What do you do when the government turns evil? What do you do when truth is no longer the highest priority for the people that are in power, but instead it is ruled by self-interest and greed? I never wanted to have these thoughts about the United States, but things right now are changing for me in a way that I never anticipated. I wanted to believe that even though the United States was flawed, that we had ideals that we clung to about a society that is cohesive for the people, by the people, of the people. I do not believe that the government that we have right now is that government. Just looking at Trump's actions in the last few days, we have to have a conversation about what we want to do next and what our relationship is with the government that is in power. I've heard it said that stupidity is worse than evil, because we know how to deal with evil. We know that when you have Hitler in office or the throngs of Mordor are trying to snuff out the light of the world of goodness, you know that you have to fight. Whereas stupidity poses a problem where the moral obligation of the citizenry is not clear. Well, I think during the election, stupidity reigned supreme. We wanted to give the benefit of the doubt, or some fragment of the population wanted to give the benefit of the doubt, that the history of the leader who was running for office did not predict what his future actions would be. But now we have seen his actions. And I'm going to get into the ones that are the most egregious, the ones that are a clear sign that we are not dealing with stupidity, but we are dealing with evil. But first I want to define evil for you. Evil is the pursuit of self-interest to the exclusion of the public good. Evil is enriching yourself through lies and using power for your own enrichment and not for the benefit of the people who have given over the power to you. At the very heart of it, evil is lying. Not making mistakes, intentionally lying for your own benefit. And the first thing that I want to point out, which is not the worst thing, but a very obvious thing that President Trump did when he took office, was the pardoning of Ross Ulbricht, the founder of the Silk Road. Why is this so horrible? Why is this a sign that we have an evil government? From 2013 to 2015, Ross Ulbricht ran the Silk Road, which was the #1 online marketplace for drugs and illicit goods. During his trial, it was clear that Ross Ulbricht attempted to hire assassins to kill his rivals on behalf of the drug cartels. Ross Ulbricht is a bad man. He was serving a 100-year sentence, of which he had already completed 10. And this happened before Trump was ever president. This all was prehistory to Trump. He pardoned one of the worst drug marketers in history, one of the most vile humans in the country, perhaps because he had a libertarian ethos, but more likely because he donated directly to Trump's campaign. At the time of his arrest, Ulbricht had, in today's currency, $2.7 billion worth of Bitcoin. There were probably Bitcoin stashed on the side, and money likely went into Trump's coffers. And the hypocrisy of this is hard to miss, because at the same time that he has freed one of the largest libertarian narco-traffickers in history, he also announced that he was going to declare the Mexican drug cartels terrorist organizations. Now, the Mexican drug cartels are bad. They murder people with impunity. They are horrible people, but you can clearly see the double standard here. By designating them terrorist organizations, he is giving authorization to our military forces to pursue them in foreign jurisdictions. This is at the same time he has also said that he wants to seize the Panama Canal, one of the most profitable and important trade channels in the world, and just take it for himself. This is nothing other than theft. This is the sort of thing that Vladimir Putin does. It is the same exact playbook. And honestly, we're just getting started. Because also, on the day prior to the election, Trump released a meme coin, a sort of cryptocurrency that is backed on literally no value, and asked his followers to show support for him financially. And the value of this meme coin rocketed to $25 billion. This is a clear infringement of the anti-bribery clauses that have been on the books for decades, if not hundreds of years in the United States, where you should not be able to profit off of the presidency. And the first action that Trump took was to profit directly on the presidency. This is a channel to directly bribe Trump. There are no ways. It is impossible to track the money that goes to Trump. I cannot tell you how bad this is for the country that believes in transparency, truth, and, I don't know, justice. Because unless you are one of those people who can muster the amount of resources that it takes to truly bribe the most powerful person in the world, you have no power in this situation, and he can do anything. And he has proven again and again that he will do anything to pursue power above and beyond the public interest. He has also announced that he will undo a critical protection in the Constitution to end birthright citizenship. And he is ostensibly doing this to crack down on illegal immigration. However, it is clear that when you undo the very foundational principle of citizenship, that someone is born in this country, that is how you get citizenship, by undoing that, he could also declare any citizen, in theory, declare any citizen not a citizen, because he is now going to redefine the criteria for which it makes someone a citizen. And if you think this sounds crazy, it is. But just because it's crazy doesn't mean he's going to refrain from doing it. He has already threatened to revoke the citizenship of the DOJ officials who prosecuted and pursued his criminal activity during the years that he was president. And finally, he wants to undo the health system in the United States, which does have some problems with it, but he wants to remake it into the shape of a griftopia, where people in the wellness industry can profit on your bad health, and there will be no accountability to evidence or science. And I'm currently working on a big investigation into that Maha movement, so stay tuned for what that looks like, because it is a cabal of grifters in charge, and science has been completely left by the wayside. And we have the receipts on how they are personally profiting on your bad health. This is worse than Big Pharma, even though Big Pharma was already bad. And this is not just about Elon Musk doing a Sieg Heil in front of a rapturous crowd. In fact, that doesn't really matter, although the symbol of that is quite useful to show where the ideology is going. I have seen evil over the course of my career. Now, if you think that your country could not turn evil, you would be wrong. People around the world have lived in stable societies where the leaderships have changed in ways that have led to genocidal massacres, that have led to kleptocracies at the top, that have led to the disenfranchisement of its citizenry. There is no reason that America cannot go down that path. In fact, all of the signs are here right now that that is where we are going. A few years ago, I wrote a book. It was called The Vortex. This is it. It was about how a leader in the country of Pakistan used a hurricane as an excuse to flip an election to his favor and then embarked on a genocide that killed 3 million people over the course of about 1 year. It is a true and tragic story about liberation fighters who fought against tyranny, and how the United States at that time, where Nixon was the president, Kissinger was the Secretary of War, used the lives of citizens, and in this case innocent Bengalis, to pursue geopolitical ends. And millions of people died. Millions of women were raped. American bullets were used in massacres. We are not an innocent country. And you've known all along that we are not an innocent country. But what is different about this moment? Well, the stakes could never be higher. Our democratic norms that have been around for more than 200 years are frayed and broken. The ideals of the American Revolution that came out of the Enlightenment are stagnant. They have been riddled with corruption for decades, and now the grifters and the criminals have the reins of power. There has never been a clearer sign than what you are seeing right now. Do you want to wait until people are actually rounded up in camps? Well, you're probably not going to have to wait too long, because mass deportations are on the way. If you don't care about the lives and the rights of immigrants, well, what happens after them? If your citizenship can be revoked at will by the executive branch, who's to say that you are also not an immigrant? I mean, you're already probably feeling a tremendous amount of anxiety for where the world is now. And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, what can I do against this horrible morass, against this unbelievable power that is wielded by the American government, which is the largest military superpower in the world? What can you do? Am I asking you to be a partisan, to grab a rifle and shoot? I don't know. Who are you going to shoot? Well, a civil war Well, it's probably not the answer here. But active resistance is. The government only has power because we give it to them. We as citizens every day give it to them because we are not getting in the way of what the government does. You may live in a state that actually has good leadership, and it is vital that we retain the institutions that we have that are on the side of truth and justice. At the same time, we have to realize that if the federal government and the people who are following this MAGA movement do not believe in a rule of law and willfully violate the laws to pursue their own agenda, it means that you are not obligated to follow the laws either. It means you have to follow the same sorts of logic that they use. Trump has already pardoned cop killers. He has pardoned the leader of a drug cartel. This is not playing fair. And if you believe that you can stand by morals of a past time period, well, you are going to be left behind. Now, on this channel, for the last several years, I have done careful work to go after liars, grifters, and scam artists. I spend months combing over court documents, interviewing people, gathering all of the evidence in order to present you a picture of the griftopia that has infected a large segment of the United States, particularly in the health sphere, but honestly, it is everywhere. But the problem is that careful gathering of evidence is no longer prioritized by an authority that sits above it. The idea in journalism is that you hold criminals and bad people to account so that either the will of the people comes in and, punishes that person in some way economically, or if there's a criminal charge that's appropriate, the government steps in and files the appropriate criminal charge. But that mechanism no longer is going to exist in the world that we live in under this current administration. We cannot believe that truth alone can hold bad people to account, especially when you have one of the worst liars and grifters of all time sitting in the Oval Office right now. He controls the courts. He controls all of the branches of government. He controls you. Now, I'm not a particularly religious person, but I do believe that there is wisdom in all of the religious texts that are around the world. And lately, I've been reading the Bible. Not because I believe it's the final truth, but because I do believe that there are messages in our spiritual teachings that can guide us and how we act in the world. And the Bible has quite a bit to say about what to do in the face of evil. And I'm going to read you a passage where the Bible describes the coming of the Antichrist. This is from 2 Thessalonians. For the mystery of lawlessness is already at work, but only until the one who now restrains it is removed. And then the lawless one will be revealed, whom the Lord Jesus will destroy with the breath of his mouth, annihilating him by the manifestations of his coming. The coming of the lawless one is apparent in the working of Satan, who uses all his power, signs, lying wonders, and every kind of wicked deception for those who are perishing because they refuse to love the truth and so be saved. The Bible is incredibly clear that this creature, the Antichrist, who is coming, has unfettered power and uses lies and signs of miracles to ground his power. The root of evil in the Bible is lying. It is undermining the value of truth and using deception to manipulate you into believing that the truth is not the truth, that the truth is a lie. And we live in a world right now full of confusion. We look at the internet and we do not know what's true anymore. We do not know if we are being attacked and assailed by Russian bots who have been courted by Elon Musk and sent to us by Russia and other foreign powers. Truth has been weaponized against us, and yet you know in your heart what truth is. You know that truth rests on empirical reality and science and facts. And we live under an administration who wants to weaponize lies, to control you, to keep you apathetic. And we need to do something about it. Over the last few years, I've spent a lot of time cultivating truth on this channel to the best of my ability. And I do not know where this channel will go in the future, because now the crimes are so unbelievably apparent and transparent That, honestly, large investigations, large time-consuming investigations that will not be heeded by the authorities are maybe not even worth it anymore, because you can just look around and know how deep the grift goes. There's no point in trying to prove to you what settled science says about, say, climate change. Climate change is coming, and Trump has pulled out of the Paris Climate Accords. This planet is going to heat to a point where, well, life on it will not be able to exist in the way it had before. The planet I was born into, the planet you were born into, will not exist for our descendants in the same way. The biodiversity that we have mostly destroyed until now will only get worse. There will be flooding, there will be storms, there could even be wars based on the squabbling for resources. There could be nuclear annihilation. All of that is coming down the pipeline, and it is clear that no leader wants to do a damned thing about it. So it's not going to be my role to convince you of reality as much as it is our mutual role to try to do something about this and undermine the power that we have either given to Trump through a very, very poorly advised vote, or, I don't know, was that vote even legitimate to begin with? Because at Trump's inauguration, he made it clear that he credited Elon Musk and his power of computers to flip the vote to a Trump victory.
And then he journeyed to Pennsylvania, where he spent like a month and a half campaigning for me in Pennsylvania. And he's a popular guy, and he was very effective. And he knows those computers better than anybody, all those computers, those vote-counting computers. And we ended up winning Pennsylvania like in a landslide, so it was pretty good. It was pretty good. So thank you to Elon.
It very well could have been an admission of guilt. And in our haste to uphold the ideals of democracy and say that our electoral system is somehow perfect, well, we may have just actually missed the fact that it was stolen from us. Of course, that truth, it may never come out. So what are we going to do from here? Well, I am still going to work on investigations, perhaps only for my own enjoyment. I'm currently investigating real estate barons who have collaborated with the wellness movement to give you a toxic brew of anti-science crap and rhetoric that enriches them. I'm looking at Grant Cardone and Gary Brecka right now. But I think that putting those out, it's mostly for me. It's mostly because I like doing that kind of work. But also on this channel, I'm going to do videos like this. I'm going to do videos where I just tell you what I see that is going on in the world and suggest some courses of action. And the first course of action that I want you to make, it's not like and subscribe, although you can do that. The first course of action I want you to do is to go and meet a neighbor. Is to go and make some friends in the real world, so we're not only talking right here on this digital medium that is controlled by billionaires who will sell you down the river at the first possible moment. In the last several decades, one of the reasons why we have become so vulnerable to this sort of grift is that we have become atoms and individuals who are no longer part of actual communities. We are not part of clubs. We are not part of the democratic process. We think that likes and subscribes and actions on the internet are meaningful, and I promise you they are not. They are mechanisms for you to be inactive. They are mechanisms of control against you and me. And although I am using this medium to communicate to you, I also recognize that this medium is hopelessly flawed. And honestly, I have zero faith that this medium will even continue through the next 4 years. I am almost positive that channels like this will be censored under the guise of some claim of victimization by the most powerful man in the world, who does not want to hear criticism of his administration and his obvious grift. And now I have to suggest the hypocritical thing, which is, yes, I do want you to keep on following my messaging. I want you to go look at that Substack that I have where I actually put out newsletters. I want you to do the internet dance. I have a back channel where I put out even more opinionated things than this. In fact, I have a video that comes out today about me contemplating whether or not I need to buy a firearm. And I might have to buy a freaking firearm now. not in order to go shoot someone, but in order to have a political voice in the current administration, it seems that firearm owners get listened to more than non-firearm owners. Anyway, that's a video I have on my back channel. I don't know if my back channel is going to be much different than this channel going forward, because I think I have to express my opinions. I think it is my duty. And that's quite a way to end this video, isn't it? We're living under the rulership of an evil administration, and we need to do something about it. Go make friends in real life. Go get active. Go get organized. And I'll see you here soon. Preferably, I'll also see you in the real world. From PokeyBear LLC in Denver, Colorado, this was Scott Carney's Front Channel.